And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of our 2026 club season previews. I'm joined by none other than the man himself, Wobble and Jaw Sports. Sam, how are we, mate, for episode 13, my friend?
G'day, Dor. G'day, everyone. Thank you very much for having me again. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Sam. The Penrith Panthers, as you can see on our right-hand side on the graphic, is the team that we are covering in episode 13. Look, another great campaign from the Penrith Panthers, considering from where they were in season 2025, Sam, to actually come back, make finals, and really make a real fist of trying to go 5 in a row. It was a good campaign. Look, bit of a summary there, but let's get absolutely straight into it, Sam. And it started off in Vegas. Penrith took on the Cronulla Sharks in round one of the 2025 season. 28 points to 22. They were able to come out victors. Sam, and I just want to get your thoughts. For me personally, coming off the 4 straight premierships, Cronulla were talked about in the lead up to this clash about, the acquisition of Adam Fanua-Blake, adding a real fire punch or, a bit of power and go forward to their lineup. And I thought Penrith were good. They were able to get the win, but I don't think that they started the season off in absolutely cracking, scintillating form.
No, they haven't done that in, the past 4 or 5 years, seemingly anyway. Their seasons always take a little while to get going. But look, I slightly disagree with that comment because we spoke about this game in the Cronulla Sharks podcast, and this was a high-quality game of footy. Both these sides did come to play and offer a great brand of footy, man. It was definitely there for Cronulla to take inside the final 10 minutes, but a bit of Dane Laurie magic and a nice piece of... It was actually a nice scrum play, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a tackle 2 play off a scrum or something like that. And Nathan Cleary and company worked it really well out to the left edge that got Penrith the victory on this night.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be too brutal. Sorry, Sam, with that. It was just that, I don't know, I thought Penrith were going to win by a bit more than the 6 points that they actually did end up winning by. And I guess we've got to give credit to Cronulla when credit's due. So, yes, but I want to pinpoint this game, actually, Sam, as a turning point in Penrith's season. Yes, they got the win here, but as we're about to see, it wasn't so sunshine and rainbows when they came back from this trip over to Vegas. They came home in round 2 and conceded 38 points, Sam. They lost 38 points to 32 against the Sydney Roosters in round 2, and a bit of a reality check there for the Penrith Panthers. They then went down to Melbourne in round 3, and look, while they won their first game by 6 points and then have lost the next 2 by 6 points, I guess, against formidable opposition, Sam. They went down, like I said, to Melbourne. They lost 30-24 by 6 points.
But that was the game in against Melbourne where Nathan Cleary was knocked out trying to recover a bouncing ball. He landed on the back of his neck, and then it was Blaze Talangi and Jack Cole that led the charge for Penrith, and they nearly got him in the end. They showed a great amount of toughness in this game.
Yes, but then the week after, look, I pinpoint the first week because you go over to Vegas. It's not across, it's not like a 2-hour flight or a 4-hour flight or something. This is a long flight. And you're going over there for a long period of time. They come back and look, while they're still scoring points and whatnot, they didn't manage to win at all in 3 weeks. And unfortunately, it continues to get worse. As I said, they went to South Sydney. they lost 28 points to 18. They then were at home, and your Cowboys, Sam, were able to take them down 22 points to 18. And what, if you haven't watched it already, in episode 11, our Cowboys podcast, Sam highlighted that as a huge win for the Cowboys, considering their recent record against the Penrith Panthers.
Can I also highlight, Dor, that the game against the South Sydney Rabbitohs, there was no Dylan Edwards. Dane Laurie was at fullback. The halves combination was Jack Cole and Trent Tolau. So they weren't 100% at that stage. And Brad Schneider was coming off the bench in jersey number 22 as well. So that they were feeling the pinch early on in the season for sure.
Yeah, that's why I also highlight that game, Sam, that Vegas game. Like, they got the result, but at what cost? I know that, like, you can't sort of predict concussion or whatnot to Nathan Cleary, but it really seems to me that they were jet lagged. Yes, jet lag should only last like a day or two. It shouldn't last like over a month, but I don't know. It was just something about the Panthers that they just couldn't get over the hump. There were a fair few injuries that, sort of didn't help the cause. But, man, they've gone down round 5. They've then gone down in round 6, 30 points to 12. And at what point we're looking here at the first 6 weeks of the season, Sam, and the Panthers are in second last position with 2 points with 1 win and 5 losses. You told me that at the end of season 2024 that the Penrith Panthers would start 2025 1 from 5. I would have fallen off my chair. Like, I just don't think anyone could predict this start or could have predicted this start, with the quality of list, the players that they have, to be 1 from 5. Yes, there were some quality opposition in that start, Sam, but I think we also highlight this point here. Well, in my opinion, we highlight this point of the season here, this 30-12 loss to the Dolphins. I think this was the one where it was like, shit, like something's not right. We need to, regroup, refresh, and try and, get ourselves back into groove. They were able to do that, Sam, in round 7. They were able to beat the Roosters and experience a victory, their first since Vegas in round 1, where they won 40 points to 12 against the Roosters, a real quality victory against a strong outfit, and basically getting some revenge on the round 2 loss where they went down by 6 points. Unfortunately, though, when you think the tides had turned, unfortunately, it didn't turn for very long. They went down the week after that, 26 points to 10 to the Manly Sea Eagles at home. Yes, their home stadium is still being refurbished or, redone. But, at their home away from home at CommBank, they went down, 26 points to 10 against Manly. Look, you can argue probably outside of the Cowboys and the Rabbitohs, they were, top 8 sides. I know the Dolphins just missed it, but they were really in the fight for the top 8 spot. But thankfully they got their mojo back, Sam. They had 1 week on, they had 1 week off, but then they came back for a huge win at Magic Round, beating the Broncos 32 points to 8 in Brisbane in an absolute clinical contest from the Penrith Panthers, Sam. I remember this one, unfortunately, very painfully so for myself as a Broncos fan. But yeah, Penrith were outstanding, Sam, in this contest.
In my opinion, despite the next couple of results that we'll get into, this is where the Panthers' fortunes changed in 2025, bro.
Yes, so as we said, Sam, 32 points to 8. The Panthers way too good for the eventual premiers, the Broncos. Round 10 came along, back-to-back trips in Queensland. They go up to QCB Stadium, and unfortunately, both teams forgot how to. Well, unfortunately for Penrith, they forgot how to kick field goals, and 30 points all was the final score in that one against the Cowboys.
Robert Derby forgot how to catch in that game too, just quietly.
Yeah. So look, going into the bye, Sam, they go to the bye. Let's look at the ladder at the completion of round 10 here. And we've got the Panthers sitting still in second last, 16th position with 7 points, 3 wins, 1 loss, and 3 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses in the first 10 rounds. 7 points, second last. Like, wow, with the roster that the Panthers possess, bro. I think we were all shocked. And unfortunately, I think the Panthers were still shocked. They hadn't experienced a week off since the trip back from Vegas, and Newcastle put them to the sword, 25 points to 6.
Yeah. An A string team up
Yes,
against
yeah.
a C string team in
Yes,
Bathurst.
yes, but they were still playing with a not a full strength team either. The Newcastle Knights. I'm looking like Kyle McCarthy there, Fletcher Hunt.
No,
There was
okay,
a
I do
few
take that back a fraction. But this was a special
players.
effort
Paul
from
Bryan.
Dylan Lucas and Fletcher Sharp that night, if I'm not mistaken. Fletcher Sharp had a
Yes.
very special night that night.
So did Dylan Lucas. I think he scored the first 2 tries, but no, this is not a Newcastle podcast. If you want to watch the Newcastle podcast, that one is out and available for you guys to watch. But yeah, both teams were probably Newcastle. I'd say I
More
agree with you,
intact.
Sam. We're probably a bit stronger, more regular names that we'd see in there. But again, it's a fresh opportunity for young players to put on that Penrith jersey and do a job. And unfortunately, in Bathurst, it just wasn't there for them. Now, to the derby, the Panthers versus the Eels at Combank. They were able to get the job done, 18 points to 10. And I think this is where the flurry starts. It is indeed. So, Panthers beat the Eels 18 points to 10. They then, in round 13, round 14 comes along. They beat the Tigers 18 points to 14. They then have the round 15 bye, which we're going to utilize to our discretion here, Sam, and have a look. The Panthers have jumped up into ninth position. Ninth position, Sam, by the end of round 15. So they were winning games and the other teams just above them were not. So they creeped up a hell of a lot of spots, Sam. It then came after the bye. They were able to rectify their woes after not a very good, basically first game after the bye here in round 12. But in round 19, after the round 18 bye, they were able to put should I say I've skipped a few rounds there. Panthers 28 points to 18. So they're able to right their wrongs after the earlier bye, the round 15 bye, round 16 came along, get the win against the Warriors.
And
Then
this was a very important victory for them because you just talked about the Newcastle Knights loss that they had. These youngsters should have had a better showing. These youngsters had the opportunity to rectify that mistake. Ivan Cleary did put it to these youngsters and said, no, all the Origin representatives who are playing in Perth only a few nights ago, they will be rested. The likes of a Tom Jenkins had a fantastic game in what was an awesome contest. This was a great game of footy, this Warriors-Panthers game, and it was the Panthers that ran away with it in the final 15 minutes in a very, very impressive display. And I really think that this was the first time, despite a couple of victories earlier on throughout the season, this was the first one where we thought, oh, this is the Panthers. This is the Panthers of old, that mentality. Like they've just discovered or rediscovered that confidence again, at least in my opinion. And if you don't agree with that opinion, you might agree with the next one in the next game, mate, because holy crap, the next game was one of the contests of 2025.
Yes. So just after that, Sam, before we go into that game, you can see now that after that win against the Warriors, the Panthers move up into the top 8 for probably the first time since round 1. I would say that the Panthers were in the 8. So, 15 rounds later it took, and they finally get back into the 8. And then you're like, people were writing them off. I was like, I was close to writing them off, but I was like, I don't think they can win the premiership, but I wouldn't say that their top 8 hopes are gone just yet. But
Likewise.
it was definitely very concerning times. But yes, this game, 8 points to 6. They beat the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs in round 17 in a huge victory for the Chocolate Soldiers, Sam, 8 points to 6. They then have their round 18 bye. So, look, you can see that the Panthers had all their bye rounds scheduled all in around that origin period there. So, again, a good opportunity for young players. And Ivan Cleary was pretty ruthless in the fact that he just rested his origin players. Even though with all the panic stations and whatnot was going on, he didn't care. He basically rested his players after origin and gave them, that extra bit of recovery. And look, at the end of the day, it proved to be a real masterstroke from Ivan Cleary. He knows what he's doing. He knows his players very well. They've won 4 premierships in a row coming into that season in 2025, Sam. So look, round 19 came along. They put Parramatta to the sword, 32 points to 10 in a huge statement victory in the derby. They then resurrected their South woes from earlier in the season, took them down 30 points to 10. Round 21 came along and they put the West Tigers to the sword. We're starting to see the Panthers come back here, Sam. Multiple big victory royales here, 36 points to 2. Then came the Gold Coast game. This game was an absolute belter on the coast. It was a real good game. And after Penrith had been so dominant for 3 weeks, they sort of took a backward step. But you can't take away what the Gold Coast Titans produced on that Saturday afternoon contest. I remember watching that one at the Jubilee. It was no, it wasn't at the Jubilee. It was at where was it, Sam? The QA Hotel. That was where it was at, the QA Hotel in Brizzy. Lovely establishment. If you haven't been there, please do go out and visit the QA. Lovely place. But anyway, Nathan Cleary was the difference there in the end, Sam. You could see it was dominated by Penrith in that first half, but then the whole second half, Panthers forgot what to do. And the only reason it got to extra time was the 2-point field goal from Nathan Cleary, which was an absolute beauty. One that he'll certainly remember after his career is on the field is all said and done. But it was all Gold Coast. Cleary was able to keep the Panthers alive with that 2-point field goal. And then Blaze Talangi was able to score early in extra time to seal the victory. And look, yes, you'd be thinking, wow, the second worst team in 2025 gave Penrith a real good run for their money. But man, the Titans were absolutely exceptional in that clash. And to be honest, a bit unlucky not to win that game, considering how bad Penrith were in that second half, Sam. But I think it was a huge victory as well. This, to me, is another point in the season which you can put down. Just for me, I think it's just like they were able to play such a shocking half of football, but a bit of Nathan Cleary, like a masterstroke from Nathan Cleary was able to get them a bit of extra time. They were able to win early, and I just think it was a huge momentum booster. That meant they've won 4 games in a row, and it showed when they went and took on Newcastle in Friday night football. Absolutely walloped them, 48 points to 12. Yes, Sam and I did discuss this in the Newcastle podcast, that Newcastle had sort of, I don't know, put the cab in the rack. They were basically, all done for season 2025, unfortunately, and were leaking points like no tomorrow, Sam. So Yes, that was what five straight wins for the Panthers, and considering how their season started, if we look back at it, Sam, it was one, two, three, four, five losses in a row. They were able to string together 5 wins here. Yep, 5 wins. But then it came to the hoodoo side again. The Melbourne Storm.
I'll just correct you there, mate. These Penrith Panthers, they won against the Parramatta Eels the week after the Newcastle game, and they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They were on a 9-game winning streak, mate, entering this game against the Melbourne Storm.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I've sort of got with the bye there. Yeah, that is very true. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, very true, my friend. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Sam. All right, so came to the Melbourne Storm. Unfortunately, yes, the hoodoo team striked again, should I say. 22 points to 18. The Storm took down the Panthers, and then they went down to the eventual minor premiers down. They played their home game at Mudgee and went down to the Raiders in an absolute. This was a great game as well against the Raiders, 16 points to 20. Someone took like a lot. It was, yes, KO Weeks off the kick, took it and went the length of the field basically to win the game. A heartbreaking loss for the Penrith Panthers, but an absolute banger in regards to 2025 classic games or classic games of 2025. This was a real good contest. Look, they beat the Bulldogs 8 points to 6, Sam. Round 26 came along. The Dogs of War were not happy with what happened earlier. They came out and beat the Panthers 28 points to 4 in round 26. So, did
against
Panthers
the C-string side, man.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Panthers, David Farley. There were some players, look, obviously, that have played this game. I'm pretty sure, actually, that, let me have a look at the ladder. So this was round 26. Let's go into the situation at round 25. So round 25 is here. Now, I actually want to talk about this because to me, it did not make sense. Why did they rest their players for this game? They are sitting in 7th spot on 31 points. The Brisbane Broncos are in 5th spot with 32 points. And the Warriors, who are fading like no tomorrow, are sitting on 34 points. They win this game, Sam. They go to 33 points. They lose this game. The Warriors lose. The Broncos win. They go in to 4th spot. Penrith could have ended up higher on the ladder if they played their players and potentially won that game. Because the Warriors lost again in the last round of the season. Panthers could have finished 6th. Yes, it didn't matter in the long term of things. We'll touch on that in a second. But, you think about it. They win. They go to 33. And then, look, they probably still fall short. So I guess, to me, it's just like if they did lose that game that we'll talk about in a second, you would be thinking like, wow, why? You could have had a home final rather than going over the ditch to play. So, look, it didn't bite them in the end. But for me, I found it really astonishing that they rested players for this game, considering that they were still mathematically a chance to make it.
Yeah, it was a ballsy call by Ivan Cleary for sure, man. Yep.
So, round 27 came along, the last round of the season. And as you saw on the ladder before, they won 40 points to 20 against the St. George Dragons. So that saw the Panthers finish the regular season in 7th spot. Considering from where they were, Sam, marvelous, an absolute marvelous turnaround to get into top 8. Considering from that start that we touched on.
Yep.
to that 2025 season. All right, let's talk about the finals. So, like I said, they didn't play their games, their players in round 26. Round 27, they were able to get the win, but because of the not playing the players in round 26 and the loss, they then had to go over the ditch to play the Warriors in an elimination final. They got the job done, 24 points to 8. But
And they needed some luck, man.
In all honesty, man, like the Warriors they went on an absolutely horrific slide of form. And look, it's basically due to the amount of injuries that the Warriors had and just like the next man up mentality. And I think they just were so fatigued. Some of these like Leka Halasima and whatnot who had come in to first grade, they had changing of the halves like Tanner Boyd, had come in and out, Harris Tavita. For me, it was just, Panthers just showed, yes, they had some luck, but they were just too strong and had that finals, mentality. They know how to win in the finals. They'd won 4 straight. So I
It
think
felt
that's
like that they were coming to overpower them. Yeah, it did, man. But look, the Warriors did begin to slide. We'll get to the Warriors eventually in the next few episodes. But they came to play in this game in really wet conditions, and there was a kick that bounced in no man's land. DWZ didn't want a bar of it. C&K was way too far up in the line from memory, and then there was a try there for Casey McLean, and then there was another try afterwards that was very, very fortuitous, man. But the Warriors really did bring it to Penrith, and it was that kick that I think it was put by Nathan Cleary. I want to say Nathan Cleary landed in no man's land, and then it ended up bouncing in the way for Casey McLean to score a very famous try. So Warriors can hold their heads up high in that game, man. But no credit to the Panthers in that one.
100%, Sam. Yeah, it was a much more hardier. That's not really a word, but it was like a real stronger performance from more grit, from the Warriors that we had seen to end the regular season. They did turn up in this game, but it was just too much class from the Penrith Panthers. Now this one in week 2. Yes, Stephen Crichton went down in the Storm, the Bulldogs game against the Melbourne Storm, or was it before that? No, I think
Crichton did go down in week 1 of finals. Yes.
I thought it was like at the back end of the regular season potentially. My memories are a bit vague on that one, but I know that Crichton got injured and he missed this game. He did not recover in time. Yeah, actually, my memories just come back to me. It was early on in the first half of that game against the Melbourne Storm that Crichton went down, came basically straight off. And they tried to get him fit for this game, but unfortunately it just never happened. And yeah, the Panthers, wowee, 46 points to 26 against a top 4 finishing Bulldogs who, look, let's be honest, I'm not trying to overshadow this victory in the margin or anything like that, but the Bulldogs had a testing back end to the season. Their spine, especially the halves combination, really struggled to really flourish, I guess, and they were very inconsistent at the back end of the year. But Stephen Crichton, look, Panthers fans know how good Stephen Crichton is. He won three premierships with them, so they know exactly how good Steve. Or was it 3 or 4?
Continue. Move on.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Yeah. But anyway, Panthers fans know that of Stephen Crichton and his quality. I think it was 3 because I think he left and then Luai left the year after. I'm pretty sure. So Luai won 4, I think. Anyway, I apologize if we're wrong. But regardless, Panthers fans know that Stephen Crichton, quality player, and it is a massive loss. He is the Bulldogs captain as well. Massive loss, but credit to Panthers, 46 points to 26. Huge huge result for the Panthers coming in to this clash against the Brisbane Broncos after, as we touched on in the Broncos podcast, pardon me, that result against the Raiders, 90 odd minutes, the Broncos were stuffed, but the week off for the Broncos was a blessing and unfortunately a punishment for the Penrith Panthers. Payne Haas, who suffered a minor injury in that game against the Raiders, was able to get a lot of rest and be fit and firing for this game. I guess the thing is with this as well, the Broncos weren't at full strength. They were very close. The returning Xavier Willison as well did not help Penrith Panthers' cause, but they did get blessed, the Panthers, with no Pat Carrigan, who was suspended for one match due to indiscretion in the Raiders game, Sam. So, wow, this was another great game. Sam and I had the privilege to be at Suncorp for this game, and it was an absolute belter. End to end, really good defense. Both sides were struggling to make real meters. And look, Panthers dominated this first half, Sam. They were the better side. They went into the break. Up 14 points to nil. Then came the second half. I'm trying now to think. I just could have sworn I spoke about, I know exactly the game I'm talking about. The Gold Coast Titans game came back to haunt the Penrith Panthers because they put in the same second half display as they did against the Titans in the fact that they scored no points. They were not able to execute. Yes, you could argue the Broncos' defense was stifling. It was very strong. But you could also argue that the Panthers' attack sort of, they got lost a bit in attack in that second half. And they didn't lose this game due to their defense. They just lost this game because their organization, their end of sets, their management, they failed to keep the Broncos from their territory. The Broncos were always on the front foot and they wanted it more. Could you argue that the whole season had caught up to Penrith in this game after, such a ebb, and then it started to flow, and then little ebb, and then it went flowing again? They went over to New Zealand. Yes, they came back, but you've got to play every single week when you finish outside of the top four, Sam. And I honestly don't. I'm slightly biased because I am a Broncos fan, but I just thought the Broncos won this game. I don't think the Panthers lost it. I just thought the determination, the want, what we'd seen from the Broncos basically throughout that whole back end of the campaign, with the come from behind victories, I think, in their second half, coming over the top of teams. It's tough. It's really tough for Panthers fans considering this, Sam. They were going for 5 in a row, coming in with great form, and 14 points to nil at halftime. Panthers fans would have been on cloud 9. For them to not score any points, and then to lose this game 16 points to 14 to an Adam Reynolds sideline conversion, it's tough. I guess as well in that Titans game, they did actually get 2 points in that second half with that Nathan Cleary 2-point field goal. But yeah, just that second half, Sam, against the Broncos was not ideal. And look, they've won 4 premierships in a row. I don't think any Panther fan could be upset with their side. Yes, I guess you could be slightly a bit upset, but you'd won 4 premierships in a row. Yes, you were going for 5 and you were 1 game away from the big dance. But what a club they've been this last half decade, the Penrith Panthers, and they can hold their heads up really high considering they were basically last spot, 16th, 17th there for a while. And then to come back, make the 8, beat the Warriors in New Zealand, smash the Bulldogs in front of a huge crowd. I think they can hold their heads up very high, the Panthers, for a real up and down season in 2025, Sam.
We usually don't spend this long on 2025 reviews in our 2026 season previews, but such was the just the roller coaster was the Penrith Panthers. They were absolutely extraordinary. Not once did I ever count them out of the fight to make the top 8. Yeah, I doubted their premiership hopes halfway through the year. The game against the Brisbane Broncos is one of the great prelims of recent memory. It really was an epic contest. And just looking at a stat throughout the season, the one thing that does glare out to me is that their defensive record, it was the first time that the Penrith Panthers, they had leaked. It was the first time the Penrith Panthers had leaked over 460 points since about the 2019 season. They have prided themselves on their defensive capabilities, and that is what has made them so intimidating over the past 6 seasons. But their defense in 2025 fell back by a ways, by about 80 points in comparison to the previous season. So yeah, that's something that definitely kept them outside of the top 4, is that this was probably it is their worst defensive season since the 2019 campaign.
I'm just looking here. Their against was not bad. Okay, yeah, 25. In 2018, they conceded 461 points. So it must have been since 2018. Oh, no, 474. Yep, you're right. So 2018, 2019. So, yeah, unbelievable. Just for a side to stay at the top for that long period of time. I think that's why it is as well, Sam. We've gone into this in such depth because it was just such an amazing season. Like, if you think of it, the lows were low and the highs were high. That's why we spent so long. But look, let's go to 2026, and the Panthers have got a formidable roster yet again to push for a potential 5th premiership in 6 years, Sam. So let's get into 2026. And let's start with the losses. So David Farley is off to the St. George Dragons. Maverick Geyer off to the West Tigers. Asu Kapoa off to the Newcastle Knights, pardon me. Zach Lamont is off to the Brisbane Tigers. Dane Laurie is off to the Canberra Raiders. I think is that Zach, is it Lipzech? Sam, how do you pronounce that?
No, yeah, it's Zach Lipowitz.
Lipowitz. Yeah, so Zach Lipowitz, my apologies, Zach and Panthers fans, is off to Catalan in the Super League. Sonny Luke has gone to the Cowboys. Riley Price, the son of Steve Price, has gone to the Dolphins, Redcliffe Dolphins. That is in the Host Plus Cup as well, not the Dolphins of the NRL. Potentially that could happen in years to come for one Riley Price, but for now it is Host Plus Cup action at the Dolphins. Brad Schneider has gone to the Dolphins NRL. Luke Summerton has gone to the Titans, Sam, and Trent Tolau has gone back to the Melbourne Storm. I think if you look at this whole list, Sam, it's not really major losses here, but some of these players played key fill-in roles and will hurt the Panthers' depth just a little bit. I'm looking at the likes of Dane Laurie, for me, is probably, I think, the biggest loss from this list. I think that he filled in a lot and did an outstanding job, whether it was on the wing or at fullback. Dane Laurie was exceptional. Look, in all honesty, he should be playing a lot more first grade than he is. And, look, if I know KO Weeks was outstanding in season 2025, but, if things don't go well in 2026, I'm sure Ricky Stewart won't hesitate to move Dane Laurie back to fullback. That's just how good Dane Laurie is. Brad Schneider, he was also another very handy fill-in, was there on the bench, or if there was an injury to Cleary or whatnot. I know that he didn't play as much in 2025 as he had in other campaigns, but I think he is a bit of a loss. And that's really it. Like Somerton and Talau played a little bit. But for me, like Mav Geyer as well, played a few games. But for me, I think Dane Laurie's the one. He's the pick of the bunch there that I think's their biggest loss from this list, Sam.
Yeah, this reads to me that they would just they're offloading some players that have been around the New South Wales Cup system for a handful of years, and it seems like the Panthers are looking more towards the younger generation next to come up and blood in, man, if that makes sense.
Yeah, let's go to the game. So who is coming to Penrith? Now,
The Warriors, full stop.
do we? Yes, that's what I was going to say. Do we start calling them the New Zealand Panthers because they went over to New Zealand in the first week of the 2025 campaign, got the victory royale against the Warriors, and said, "Oh, we're going to do some recon and scouting while we're over here, and we're going to, also, when the Warriors came to town for the New South Wales Cup Grand Final and got the victory there, I'm sure that they would have been, in and around the sheds. I know Ivan Cleary was there watching his son Jet that plays for the Warriors. Maybe Jet did some bit of recon work for his dad. I don't know, but wowee, they have raided the Warriors with 3 signings: Tom Alley, Kalani Going, and Freddie Lussick. The biggest one from me in this list is Kalani Going, the 2025 New South Wales Cup player of the grand final. And was he player of the comp as well?
No, not off the
No,
top of the dome, mate.
he was definitely, I'm pretty sure he was a player of the grand final. I'm going to actually quickly check that, but he's basically been outstanding, and Going has lacked an opportunity in first grade football for the Warriors. He's only played the one fixture, and I think the signing that really hurt Kalani Going for the Warriors or for his own campaign at the Warriors was Aaron Clark was the problem. I think he really did not help Going's chances. And look, Sam and I are going to speak a bit more about Kalani Going.
I'm putting on the brakes, man. Yes, he was. I apologize. Yeah, Kalani Going was named the 2025 New South Wales Cup player of the season. Apologies for that, guys.
Yeah, no. He was, I don't know if he was player of the grand final, but he was outstanding in that that clash as well. Jack Cogger is the other man, Sam, who is returning to the Panthers after a not so successful stint, considering how successful he was in 2023 with the Panthers before he ventured for a couple of seasons at Newcastle. Cogger is back. And look, he's just going to fill in that beautiful utility role and play in the halves if required. Fight it out for Jack Cole, probably for a spot in the halves if something happens to Lungi or Cleary. But look, I think that is 4 very good gains considering the losses. You've got Freddie Lussick as well. He's handy. He'll do a job. He's been in the NRL for many years. They're all like close to fringe players, and if there's injuries to players for the Panthers, these guys are going to fill in. I think a player that could just get in just on pure form is Kalani Going. I think he's the one there that can actually get in. Look, they could go Freddie Lussick off the bench. I just don't think they will. I think they'd rather go with the Cogger, but I could be wrong. But for me, yeah, Kalani Going's the one that could get into the 17 just on pure form. But look, I think it's a great list, Sam.
Strong. No, I really like it as well, mate.
Yep. All right. Look, it is your time to shine, Sam. Let's go into the train and trial / development list for the Penrith Panthers for season 2026, my friend.
Alrighty, thank you very much, mate. Alrighty, so there's only one development contract that I was able to ascertain here, and it is the first name off the list. It is Mr. Zachary Clark. He was a part of the West Tigers a couple of years ago. He has extended his stay for an extra 2 seasons, and he was one of the highest point scorers in the 2024 SG Ball season. He has gone on to play New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flag and New South Wales Cup, playing in the second row. The next name might be the most impressive name of the bunch. This guy is Billy Phillips, and he did make his NRL debut last year in that game against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And Billy Phillips, he in that game, he played 45 minutes and had 5 carries for 28 meters, but he also had 35 tackles for only 2 missed. In 2023, he was the SG Ball Panthers Player of the Year, and in 2027, he is going to evolve into a top 30 player in that roster. I would suggest that he is one of the higher profile names of the train and trial squad for 2026. Going into the next one, Kearn Skips. This is a bit of a fascinating story, this one. Kearn Skips, halfback, came down from the Gold Coast for an opportunity to play some jersey flag, and he actually ended up captaining the Canberra Raiders jersey flag team in 2025, and that Raiders side did make it to the second week of the finals. Now, in August of that year, before the finals had even kicked off, Kearn Skips went to Ricky Stewart, went to the Raiders and said, I'm feeling homesick. I want to go back home to the Gold Coast. And they said, no worries, you can go home on compassionate grounds. And then about a month later, he signed for the Penrith Panthers. Ricky Stewart and the Raiders are going, what? What? You're not supposed to do that. You told us otherwise. And Kearn Skips is going, well, I'm going to the Penny Panthers, guys. See you later. So now he's on a training trial. He's now on a training trial with the Penrith Panthers. He is a halfback. I, with all due respect, doubt that he is going to appear in first grade with someone like a Jack Cogger and a Jack Cole in front. But half your luck if it does happen. So Kearn Skips, he skipped the jersey flag, Raiders in 2025, and he's coming up to the Penrith Panthers in 2026 on a train and trial deal. We've got Mr. Toby Crosby, another New Zealand Warrior, Dor. Yeehaw. Toby Crosby, he has signed a 2-year contract. He is a rugby convert, and he played 24 games over 2 years for the New Zealand Warriors New South Wales Cup team, starting in 2024, and obviously was a part of the premiership winning side that last year for the New Zealand Warriors. He averaged 17 tackles in the 2025 campaign, and he only missed 12 overall. So not too bad, man. Does not miss. So that's a high tackle efficiency. And then the next
in the preseason as well, huge raps coming
monstrous
out of Penrith. Yeah,
he looks monstrous, guys. So the next one, Patrick Moy, descendant from Fui Moy. Those who might remember, he is a very impressive young man as well that has been going good in the Jersey Flag. Also appeared in New South Wales Cup from the Warriors as well. And then you've got, Hokafonu Lamoto. He is a prop. Lindsay Smith is off contract at the end of the year, and you've also got Liam Henry leaving for Perth Bears at the end of the season. There might be an opening for this very, very young man, but there might be an opening for him next season. So this year is an important year for Mr. Lamoto. The next one, I wonder if you'll be keeping an eye on this one, mate. Mr. Harry Armstrong. He was part of the Brisbane Broncos at the start of last year. He is an under-19s representative, and he was a captain of the Wynnum Manly Seagulls a couple of years ago. So there is a nice bit of hype about this Harry Armstrong, who plays in the second row. And then the other gentleman on screen also has a fair bit of hype about him as well. And Mr. Tua Patia, he is a centre and was the and was the other half of the 2023 SG Ball Player of the Year. They shared royalties, he and Mr. Billy Phillips did in 2023. He's very young himself, and I don't foresee him cracking first grade this year, but by all reports, he is a very talented young man. So Tuiputea, of everybody here, Toby Crosby and Billy Phillips would be those two players immediately that could make that debut, step up into first grade this season. Harry Armstrong potentially next year, and Tuiputea maybe next year as well, and Mr. Lamoto. But probably just for this year, Panthers fans, I'd suggest Billy Phillips and Toby Crosby would be the two names to look out for, and then everybody else, definitely keep an eye out for them in 2027, Dor.
Yeah, I just know the word coming out from Penrith is that Toby Crosby has been unbelievable in preseason, and I think he will be the one that definitely plays. Harry Armstrong, there was huge raps on him, and it was a bad loss for us to lose Harry Armstrong to the Penrith Panthers. So that is a huge get. Really big raps on Harry Armstrong up here in Brisbane. But yeah, I think Toby Crosby's the one, Sam. I would not be surprised if he plays. If the Panthers suffer maybe a couple of injuries in the forward pack, I would not be surprised if Mr. Crosby's in before Origin. He's played an NRL game before State of Origin with the way he's going. If it not in that Origin period, with Cleary, he seems to really like to give his players those rests after State of Origin. So yeah, for me, Toby Crosby's definitely one to look out for very closely in this 2026 season. But look, we wish all the young men all the best, and hopefully they all get a crack sooner rather than later in the NRL for the Penny Panthers. Let's move on to the draw, Sam, my favorite part of the podcast, my friend. So, as we always do, I'm going to get straight into it, not going to muck around here. Penrith Panthers fans, I am about to give you the ultimate death draw. The AI has been absolutely brutal, and this is by far the worst draw of the 2026 season. I'll give you my rating at the end, but they have return matchups against almost the entire top 8 from 2025, while single bouts against last year's bottom 4. They do get a reprieve with their buys, Sam, 2 of which come before Origin 1 and Origin 2. And then after Origin 3, which is when Ivan Cleary traditionally rests his entire Origin contingent. So they're getting a bye before Origin for 1 and 2. And then the game that they'd normally rest, that we saw them rest, what was it against was it the Warriors, or what? Which game was that? Now I'm
Dogs.
just starting it. Was it the Dogs? Was it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, this one here. Yeah. So yeah, they keep that bye round after the game. So I guess that's a positive. Before we go into the run home, Sam, the teams they play twice. So I alluded to them, that they basically versed almost the whole 2025 top 8 twice. They have the Broncos twice. They have the Bulldogs twice. They have the Eels twice. They have the Raiders twice, the Roosters twice, the Storm twice, the Warriors twice, and the Tigers twice. There is 2 teams there in the Eels, and the Tigers are the ones that aren't in the top 8. That is by far the worst double up of teams that we have done in all of our previews thus far this season, Sam. What, episode 13 now? this is by far the worst double ups of teams that the one opposition has to play twice. The teams that the Panthers play once: the Cowboys, the Dragons, the Dolphins, the Rabbitohs, the Sea Eagles, the Titans, the Sharks, and the Knights. Their bye rounds are rounds 12 before Origin 1, as I alluded to before, 15 before Origin 2, as I alluded to before as well, and then 19 after Origin 3, as I also alluded to before. So, look, the buys will help the Panthers, but the greatest team of the modern era has been dealt easily their most difficult draw of their entire dynasty. The gauntlet has been put down for the Penrith Panthers in this season 2026. This is going to be their hardest test ever, Sam, to make the top 8. But if any team is capable of doing so, it is the Penrith Panthers. And let's just touch on that almost very critical run home, Sam, but with an absolute doozy of a draw. I can't imagine it being any good.
Every team in the NRL in 2026, their run to the finals starts in round number 20. It's no different for Penrith Panthers. Now, coming into round number 20, they are coming off the Penrith Panthers. They are coming off their third and final bye, and then it's all systems go. From round number 20, it is a 2023 grand final rematch. It is a 2025 preliminary final rematch. Thursday night footy, Penrith versus Brisbane Broncos at CommBank Stadium. I believe that is for the first time ever. 1 week later, it is the Western Sydney Derby against the Parramatta Eels. They then have about 8 days rest, and they take on the Canberra Raiders back in Mudgee. They're on the road again, crossing the ditch to take on the New Zealand Warriors for Friday night footy. So short-ish turnaround there. Round number 24, they're back at home to take on the Sydney Roosters. Thursday night footy, 7 days later, they're taking on the Melbourne Storm down in Amy Park. Then to finish out the year, they have back-to-back home games, a Friday night game against the Bulldogs, and then a Sunday afternoon game against the West Tigers. So in that run to the finals, they have Brisbane, Raiders, Warriors, Roosters, Melbourne Bulldogs, and the West Tigers. The West Tigers are one of only 2 teams that they do not take on that didn't feature inside the top 8 from 2025. That game against the Parramatta Eels is the Western Sydney Derby. Absolutely anything does happen in those contests. So that's as hard as it gets. And you imagine that in one of those final 2 rounds, home games, Ivan Cleary is probably going to have to pull the trigger again if the Panthers are in a situation where they are, in the top 8, just about. So that is the hardest run into the finals of anybody that we've seen so far. But as you just said, this is the best team of the past 6 years or so now. And if anybody can overcome such massive adversity, it is the Mountain Men, bro. But that run to the finals is pretty intense.
Trials, Sam. So for the Panthers, they have trials against the Cowboys, which will be up in Mackay, if I'm correct, Sam. And they have then their second trial. Technically, their first trial is technically round 2 of the trials, but it's basically round 1 for most of the other teams other than the Vegas team. So, but It's their first trial nonetheless, but the Cowboys' second one. So you're probably going to see a strong Cowboys outfit in this second clash. And then you've got their second game is against the West Tigers, which rounds out their trials, Sam.
Yep.
Last thing, the games that the Panthers play against the 2025 top 8 and bottom 9 teams. 13 games against the top 8, 8 against the top 4. That 2 stats just there is, I think, higher than any other team that we've done thus far. And these are probably going to be the 2 lowest. Bottom 9 games, 11, and bottom 4 games against the bottom 4. They have 0 5-day turnarounds, 6-day turnarounds and 17 7+ day turnarounds. So their turnaround schedule is pretty good. They've been at least given some respite with their turnarounds, with not having a lot of short turnarounds, but it's the draw of death. It is the draw that I would wake up, I would see, and I would cry myself back to sleep. It is, in my opinion, easily the worst. It is an E for this draw for the Penrith Panthers. I will use this later on in this podcast, but this is a horrible, horrible draw for Penrith Panthers.
It is.
For season 2026.
It's really intense. There are a couple of stretches where they have 3 straight away games. They do not have 3 straight home games at all throughout season 2026. In one of those 3 stretches, they're on a trip to Darwin. So, it adds to the brutality of it all. They're on the way to Darwin. They're taking on all Queensland sides in Queensland. The Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Titans don't travel down to their neck of the woods. The Broncos do. But to make all those trips to Queensland, on top of then you add in Magic Round as well, that's 4 trips to Queensland, 1 to the Northern Territory. They're also going down to Canberra. They're going to New Zealand. They're going to Melbourne, and they're traveling out to Mudgee as well. So it's, yes, great that they've got a lot of 7-day turnarounds, but gee whiz, they're going to friggin' need it, man, because they're all over the compass in 2026, Dor.
I'm just looking at this draw closely, Sam. I see like 2 weeks of potential easy opponents when it's back-to-back. Potentially 2 times. There's Titans and Cowboys and the Knights and Manly that in rounds 8 and rounds 9 and rounds 16 and rounds 17, potentially 16, 17, 18 with the Rabbitohs as well. But other than that, they're versing like those so many of those top 5 teams. Yes, it is a new year. We don't know if those teams are going to be as good as they were in 2025, but most of those sides have got very good rosters. So, and you've probably seen through Sam and I through these podcasts, there's a lot of spots left for the teams that we haven't touched on because they're probably all, yes, they're teams they went well in season 2025. And because of their roster, their list, we expect them to do well again. But let's talk some positive things, Sam. Let's look to some positives here, my friend, and let's talk about this Panthers round 1 team that I have put forward and yourself. So at the back, look, the Dylan Edwards. Don't need to say much about Dylan Edwards. Quality footballer. Pardon me. Now, we'll have a discussion about this after you do your team. Alamotti and Brian Do'o on the wings for the Panthers. I've got Isaac Tungo and Casey McLean. What a year Casey McLean had. He was great in Pack Champs as well. Blaze Talangi, who's ever growing, and his combination with Nathan Cleary will be even better this season than it was last season. I've got Moses Leota and Lindsay Smith as my props. Mitch Kenny as the hooker. My back row is Scott Sorensen and Liam Martin. Isaiah Yeo, no doubts about that, is the lock. Jack Cogger, I have a jersey 14. I have the very dangerous forward pack of Liam Henry, Isaiah Papali'i, and Luke Gardner as my bench. Got a few middle players there, and also 2 of those. Luke Gardner's just an edge specialist, really. Isaiah Papali'i can play on the edge, but also in the middle. Liam Henry's amazing. He just works his backside off in the middle, and I just think, look, Jack Cogger's got some history in Penrith, some winning history, and I think he'll be the first man to get a crack in jersey 14. As I alluded to before, Sam and I have got a bit more coming with Kalani going. He is my jersey 18 I've got Lauren Patea, who we saw a little bit in season 2025. And then the man that I want to talk about, but we'll wait after till Sam's done his team, is one Thomas Jenkins. He deserves to be in the top 20 for what he did in season 2025. I'm sure all Panthers fans agree with that. But anyway, before we touch on him, Sam, fire away, my friend, your team for round 1.
You and I are exactly the same from 1 down to 13. Then our bench is also exactly the same. I've got Tom Jenkins, Tom Arley, and Matt Eisenhuth from 18 down to 20. Kalani going is going to go close this year to appearing in a Panthers jersey. But yeah, Tom Jenkins, he's right there knocking on the door of getting back into that 1 to 17. Man, Tom Arley, I've always had a rap on. He's made his first grade debut with the New Zealand Warriors. I've always liked what he's been able to offer. And I think Matt Eisenhuth, he's just been just a stalwart, a hard worker, somebody the boys like to get around, and seemingly Ivan Cleary likes to have on standby. So I put Matt Eisenhuth there, who's been a trustworthy player for the Penrith Panthers system, mate.
Tom Jenkins, Sam, before we move
on. Yep.
He was outstanding in season 2025. But then it came to crunch time. And Tom Jenkins no longer was in the team. Paul Alamotti was exceptional in the finals. I'm just like, I feel bad for Jenko, because obviously it didn't work out at the Knights. He's come back to the Panthers, and Ivan Cleary's showing him faith. He was outstanding. This is nothing against Paul Alamotti, but Tom Jenkins did not deserve to lose that jersey to Paul Alamotti.
Mm-hmm.
He will be definitely into the team if someone goes down in the back line. What is your thoughts on, Alamotti versus Jenkins? Yes, we saw Jenkins play a majority of the regular season and Alamotti come in at the end there. They're obviously a bit different in regards to how they go about their business, but what are your thoughts in that regard?
Brutal call. Very, very brutal call. However, it did pay off in the end for Ivan Cleary and his Panthers, because as you said, Paul Alamotti was insane. We've all enjoyed Tom Jenkins coming back. The question is, we've seen him go elsewhere, and maybe it was the coach at Newcastle that knocked around Tom Jenkins's confidence. So where and what should he do? I'm just trying to find out if he's off contract. I think he is off contract, Tom Jenkins, at the end of the 2026 season.
Oh, sure.
So the question is, man, does Tom Jenkins, if Perth Bears come knocking, does Tom Jenkins take it? If the Papua New Guinean Chiefs come knocking, if whoever comes knocking for Tom Jenkins, despite him not having a successful go at leaving Penrith, familiar surroundings, and going to Newcastle, maybe that had something to do with the environment and the coach. Do we have enough confidence? Do we have enough to suggest that maybe he actually can improve and he can still be as much of a weapon elsewhere as what he is for Penrith? I think he can. I think it was a bad environment for him in Newcastle. And look, Paul Alamotti, I think, is off contract, if I'm not mistaken. But one of these two players is going to have to...
He re-signed.
He's re-signed. I apologise then. But Tom Jenkins has got a massive 12 months ahead of him. I think it would be such a loss for rugby, for NRL, not rugby league. It would be a loss for the NRL if a Super League team knocked on Tom Jenkins' door instead of somebody like a Perth Bears or whoever to try and keep him in the NRL. He is NRL quality. He is much better than, sorry to any Super League fans out there, he's way better than Super League quality. So I think it would be very, very bittersweet if Tom Jenkins was lost to the NRL, man. And he absolutely deserves a full-time opportunity elsewhere. And at the moment, you would probably suggest that Tom Jenkins, unless if he's happy to play New South Wales Cup, and be that 18th man for Alamotti, or be the one that makes way for Alamotti to play in a grand final or prelim or final series. I think Tom Jenkins might be at a new club in 2027.
Very well answered, my friend. Before we go into our breakout player, Sam, it is a very special year for the Penrith Panthers. It is their 60th anniversary for the Penrith Panthers. Absolutely huge occasion for them, as you can see on the logo. The Panthers were established in 1967. The 2026 season is nearly upon us, Sam. You can see a commemorative logo for the 60th season, which is right there for you all to see, the left-hand side of Nathan Cleary. And it's been unveiled featuring, obviously, a silver shield, which has been inspired by their 2003 premiership, Sam. And it incorporates the original 1967 logo for use across, obviously, their jerseys, merchandise, and apparel. So I just want to obviously wish the Panthers all the best in their 60th season. Love the logo. Really do love the logo. I think it's great. And it looks good on the jerseys, as you can see in those photos as well. So just wanted to touch on that, Sam, before we get into our breakout player. And our breakout player is none other than Mr. Kalani Going. Look, obviously this is a tough one. And with these sides that we're getting to the back end of this series, these teams are very well established, filled with players that have definitely broken out well established, in the NRL. Look, Kalani Going's not young. He's not a young whippersnapper. He's been around the block. Yes, he's only played one NRL game. He is 28 years of age, should I say, Sam. But he got, as we touched on before, New South Wales Cup Player of the Year. The two players that have come from across the ditch, the two ones that have been killing it at training, is Mr. Crosby and this man right here, Kalani Going. If anything is to happen to Isaiah Yeo, whether it be rested or hopefully not, but injury, this man will be straight into the Panthers starting 13. As we said, the Warriors won the New South Wales Cup in season 2025, sorry. And he was a huge part, Kalani Going. He was the captain in that side, that New South Wales Cup side. While he does predominantly play lock forward, he can really slot in anywhere in the forward pack. There's definitely, obviously, some great forwards at Penrith, Sam, but I think especially with the versatility and the size of Kalani Going, he will, like I alluded to before, feature in this 2026 campaign quite heavily. You can see that he's played like 20 games for the Warriors the last 3 seasons plus. Actually made his debut for the Mounties in 2018, Kalani Going. So, look, the big stat here that we're going to take away from Kalani Going is, look, there's tackle break numbers, pretty good. Like if I have a quick look here and go players, and let's have a look at tackle breaks. Look, yeah, that's a lot, but most of these guys outside of Payne Haas are all backs. Considering 61, he's had 82 in his first year as well. This here is beautiful. Fits into Panthers' philosophy and how they go about their football perfectly. Yes, they conceded a lot more points, Sam. And how do you stop scoring other teams scoring points? You make your tackles. You let them. You make them stick. And this man makes his tackles stick. He's gone 93 or 90 plus in his last 3 seasons for the Warriors. Over 700 tackles. Look, I'm not disrespecting Mr. Crosby. He probably didn't play as much football as Kalani Going in regards to, time on the field. But Kalani Going had 720 tackles in season 2025. I know it's not going to be as much as some of the NRL numbers, but look, that's still very, very good efficiency. And then, to counter that, look at the run meters. He's over 110 run meters a game and has done in his last 3 seasons. He is probably in his prime in regards to forwards. He is close to being in his prime. Maybe I'd say he's right in his prime, I reckon, Kalani Going. That's why I think that the signing of this man to the Panthers is such a blow to the Warriors and such a huge gain for the Penrith Panthers. So, look, that is all I have to say on this very impressive man, Kalani Going, 28 years old, but is going to take the NRL world by storm this season and add to his one game that he has played in the National Rugby League, Sam.
Mate, no, you've hit the nail on the head. I got nothing else to add other than, yes, I think he will probably come in halfway through the season. Maybe he might force his way in earlier for sure. But you're right, though. Looking at his stats, it looks like that the 2025 season was arguably his best season as a rugby league player. They're right up there for sure, bro. So Kalani Going for a Penrith Panthers team where it's going to be hard to get in and everybody has already broken out. If there is one player that Dor and I do feel like that will, break out, even though he's as you just said before, he's not a spring chicken anymore. I think he definitely can break out and impress Penrith fans for sure.
Yeah, break out to the point, Sam, of that he's played one game in the NRL. This man could go from someone that, the normal fan isn't, that too familiar with to, oh, yeah, I know exactly who Kalani Going is. He's the man that came in, replaced an injured player or came in the middle part of the season. And
Yes.
the Panthers didn't skip a beat under Kalani Going. So, or with Kalani Going in the side. So, look, that is our breakout play. Yes, it's tough with these last team or these top teams because they're all so well established and most of the players have already broken out. So it is a really, tough decision, but I'm very confident that Kalani Going is going to play a lot of first grade in season 2026, pardon me. All right. The time has come. Let's see where Sam and I have put the Panthers for season 2026 after the jersey. We have got the Penrith Panthers, would you say heritage strip, Sam, for this season 2000 and or commemorative jersey, would you say?
Commemorative.
Would that be,
commemorative heritage.
Yep. And Mr. Cogger is modeling it absolutely beautifully there. And they've put some nice props in there, Sam, to sort of throw, you can see the 2 jerseys there. I think that's the throwbacks to their 2003 jerseys. Am I correct in that regard?
Yes.
I think so. And then, obviously they've got the old wooden, bedside table. Obviously, 60 years. It's been a long time. I really like this jersey. I love the colors. The colors for me is what make it. It's just nice and simple. It's black, but I really like obviously that light blue from that away strip from 2003 that runs down the side, and they've got that same pattern there in that home jersey as well from the 2003 campaign. It's not out of this world. I think the sponsor integration is not too bad at all. Like that My Place IQ doesn't have like a disgusting background behind it. The white text, even though the red, you can sort of, the red actually sort of fits in as well with the red line on the socks, the red couple of marks on the piece on the side as well, sort of make it all blend in nicely. I guess if I've got to be critical, maybe the Hertz or whatever it is sponsorship on the bicep, I think maybe if that was just, maybe white text or something like that. But look, that's very minor. I think it's a very classy kit. I like how the shorts as well blend in. They're not just like, oh, okay, these are the Panthers home shorts. We're going to just chuck that on and then have the heritage jersey over the top. No, they've gone all out. They've got the socks, they've got the shorts, and they've got the jersey. I love that when a side actually commits to their jersey and making sure they do it right by having the shorts to match it. Because in my opinion, there's nothing worse than having a really good jersey and then having shorts that don't even match the jersey. So I really like it. Is it my favorite jersey of all the ones we've done thus far? No, but it's definitely up there. I really like it, Sam.
I concur 100%. I think it's a banger of a jersey, man. And then just their regular home kits and an away kit is fine. The pink jersey does return in 2026. There are some whispers that are getting a little bit louder about the fans wanting to see a white strip sometime in the not too distant future. So that's just what I've been reading and hearing as well. Yeah. But no, the Panthers jersey range altogether is quality, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, the home jerseys and away jerseys that Sam were talking about right there as well for all to see. Look very similar to last year's, but I just think the logo that obviously Going and Lussick are pointing to, I think it's great. I really do think it's a really good 2026 apparel campaign from the Panthers in such a big year, Sam. Your Cowboys had their anniversary last season and they hit it out of the park with their jerseys and whatnot. And it's great to see, even the Dragons, nailing their Fire and Ice jersey for Vegas. I think it's exceptional. So very well done, and hats off to the Penrith Panthers for their jersey range. Now, it is time for our ladder predictions. I ramble on a lot in this segment, but I'm keeping this short and sweet. I said I was going to bring back the draw. I'm bringing it back right here. I would have the Panthers in the top 4 every single year except this year. I cannot, and when I say every single year, that is from the last 5 or 6 years that they've been on this run. This draw is cooked. It is horrible. It is travel consuming. And I want to put Penrith in the top 4. I had them there. I had a closer look at this draw today and I was just like, no, I honestly think that this, if they can get top 4, look, I'm not saying it's out. Sam's got them in the top 4. I don't think it's out of this realm. That the Panthers are a quality team. They've shown us that in many years. But for me, this draw is cooked. I could say a lot more worse words than that, but cooked is going to be cooked in a bad way, that is. And yeah, I'm not going to go into much more, but I've got the Panthers in the top 8. They're too good of a team to miss the top 8, even with such a horrible draw. But I think the draw's it's going to be too much for the Panthers to make the top 4 with that draw, Sam. So yep, top 8 finish. The Panthers will be in finals football again in season 2026, but no top 4, unfortunately, again for the Panthers, in my opinion.
Okay. No, I didn't know that that's where you were going to rank them. So no, that is a surprise, and that's fair enough. Sometime throughout last year, I said to myself, just don't back against Penrith. Don't tip against them. They've been here so many times before, and they, despite not getting to a grand final, they proved that they can win it from anywhere. So they can be top 8, they can be top 4, they can win it from anywhere, man, after finishing 7th in 2025. The concerns that I have for Penrith lie on the edges defensively, primarily Blaze Talangi. Towards the back end of the year, maybe for about 3 or 4 games in a row, everybody targeted Blaze Talangi and he got found out. Now, I'm not saying he is a terrible defender. There were a couple of times where he absolutely axed his opponents. You might remember in that Mudgee game, Blaze Talangi put Xavier Savage on the shelf for the rest of the 2025 campaign. So Talangi can hit pretty well, but there were times in the more important games that he got found out, he got targeted, and it got
You see
sliced
that
up the
graphic,
middle.
Sam?
What's with
Second
your glasses?
worst.
Yeah.
Blaze Talangi missed 107 tackles. The only person that missed more in season 2025 was Kurt Capewell with 109. So what you're saying is 110% correct. That Talangi needs to show some better defense in season 2026.
But that's also the communication on the outside, and there was a lot of
100%.
changes down his edge, and I believe that it was that Case
Sorensen
McLean
injuries as
finds
well.
himself down there, and you're exactly right. Scott Sorensen found himself out a few times there. So yeah, that edge does concern me more than the other edge. However, in saying that though, I think Isaac Tungo has got a bit of a important campaign next to Nathan Cleary. We've just seen enough evidence now over the past couple of years that Cleary and Isaac Tungo are a bit susceptible to leaky defense. Obviously, mainly referring to the 2023 grand final where Ezra Mam sliced him up down that edge, but we've seen it plenty more times over the past few years as well. So their edge defense is a concern. However, the positive that I want to bring up, and something we haven't spoken about yet, Dor, is that this is the first off season since the year 2020 where they are pretty much unchanged in the 1 to 17. They have no injuries whatsoever. They are going to come into the year. Well, they're not going to Las Vegas this year. They're going to come into this year completely 100% prepared, completely refreshed. I think that despite the very tough draw, and it's a brilliant case that you make about them missing the top 8. And while I do think
they make the top 8, miss the top 4.
Oh, sorry, top 4. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah,
sorry. But no, sorry. And right. I do think that there's going to be a couple of losses inside that first 5 weeks because of how difficult it is. But I can't tip against Penrith, and I do think that they will, at the very least, make it to the prelim final. And I would not be surprised if they do feature in another grand final. There's a lot of pressure on Blaze Talangi. I also, with a lot of due respect, Dylan Edwards, I think he
didn't have a very good campaign in the back end
compared to his past few years. But think about his past few years and how much effort he's put in. Maybe he was kind of due an off season in 2025. So, but Casey McLean, I mean, I was thinking about making him my breakout player for a second, but he broke out last year. Yeah. He did, but
massive.
He had a slow-ish start to the year as well. Yeah, and but no, then he blossomed beautifully, mate. Liam Martin this Penrith Panthers side is a top 4 team for me, despite how difficult the draw is. They've proven time and time again how tough of a team they are. It's just a lot of my concern, unfortunately, with much due respect, is towards the very talented Blaze Talangi, but they are a premiership threat again in 2026, and they are in my top 4 this year, Dor.
Yeah, no, I still think, I'm not saying that they can't go all the way. I just think that it won't be from inside the top 4 that they make their finals run, just due to that, that toughness of the draw. But like you said, Sam, the health for the Panthers is massive. They had so many players representing their countries at the back end of last year. And, Cleary, Edwards, Yeo, Lindsay Smith, all for the Kangaroos, Casey McLean, Isaiah Papali'i, Scott Sorensen for New Zealand, Isaac Tungo, Blaze Talangi, and Brian To'o for Samoa. And, due to that obviously extended campaign last year for those blokes, they've obviously all had shorter pre-seasons. due to those commitments. So, which I think is outstanding. Like they had such a big year for their countries and for their club, as well as their states for some of them. So, yeah, I think it's a classy move from Ivan Cleary. And yeah, it's great to see that you want all teams, everyone all fit and firing, ready to go for round one. I hate injuries, and I think everyone does. We just want, like, even if you're versing like a team and you're supporting your own team, you want to beat the opposition when they're at full strength. You don't want them to have an excuse, oh, such and such wasn't playing. So it's great to see that the Panthers are, looking like they're going to be fit and firing and well rested for their 2026 start to the season, Sam. But look, that is it. That is the Penrith Panthers podcast with the review and the preview for this 2026 campaign. Thank you so much again, Sam. And thank you so much to everyone who's liking, subscribing, and also watching and listening to all the podcasts that we've done for all the 12 teams before this one here that we've touched on in episode 13 with the Penrith Panthers. So, if you haven't done so, make sure you like and subscribe to Wobble and Jaw and All Out. And make sure you do the same on social media and, just social media, all social media platforms. Sam and I are on there outside of Facebook for Sam, but Sam's on Instagram and X. We're on all of them. So feel free. Oh, and TikTok as well for you as well, Sam. You're not on, but that is all right. Everyone, make sure you go and like and subscribe.
Thanks, guys. Thank you
so much, Sam. And we will see you in the next one where your team could be next. So we'll see you there. Thank you so much again. Catch up. Bye.